Good afternoon, and welcome to Brunch and Budget on Bonfire Radio with your host, Pamela Capallet, a certified financial planner here to help take the bite out of your budget. BrunchAndBudget.com. I'm your sound provider, Dialect, and here's your host, Pamela Capallet.
Thank you, Dialect, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So we are in the middle of March, which means that we're in the middle of...
Wait, are we singing Gone Till November?
I was going to say...
Right in the middle of March where the pregnancy starts and your lady's placenta, I'll be gone till November.
Yeah, that and tax season! Yay!
Well, I was going to make a joke about taxes because that's a Wyclef song.
Oh, Wyclef sang about taxes?
No, the song Gone Till November is a Wyclef song, and he is famously had tax issues.
Oh, yes, he had tax issues. It's true. I bet he was audited.
We were making connections. Well, I hope he was audited for the craziness he did in Haiti. He was taking all them folks' money.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah, so, no, I want to talk about, before we even get to our guests, auditing. Auditing sounds scary. We just talked about Wyclef Jean, who is famous for taking millions of dollars from his native country in a time of crisis. Like, folks was really mad at him. But even then, I was just thinking in my head, like, oh, man, no, I hope he doesn't get audited.
You, felt bad for him?
It sounded scary, the idea, or it sounded like a fitting consequence, like when you get eaten by the shark at the end of the movie.
Like, this is what happens to villains, is they get audited.
They get audited. Actually, no, really and truly, that's what happens to villains in movies that are about money and taxes.
Right, well, Al Capone, right?
Well, yeah, that's actually how they caught Al Capone.
There you go.
Was for tax evasion. They audited his behind, probably with many Tommy guns.
So we actually have Arielle Bryant, a former IRS auditor, here to tell us all of her secrets.
Yes. No, not to tell us. Well, to tell us all, not all of her secrets.
Thank you so much.
So when you were 13.
No, not those secrets. Thank you so much for joining us, Arielle, all the way from Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound great.
Okay. Fabulous. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I've been following you guys for a while, especially you, Pam, as a certified financial planner. And the way you conduct your business, the things you're doing is very inspiring. So it's a privilege.
Thank you. Thank you. We're so excited to have you. So we got Little Rock here on the mic too.
Low Rock.
She's our Brunch and Budget podcast intern, and she is the term that she coined is a new adult. So we're going to have her ask you some questions about
new adult and
about
future
taxes.
Podcast runner,
yes.
Oh, yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I love it.
And we were saying all the things we were saying in the intro about folks being scared because you know how it is with people who don't know what they don't know.
And especially when it comes to taxes and money.
I mean, look.
Definitely.
Every time anyone has ever said anything about getting audited, it sounds like the worst thing in the world. And when they tell you that you need to be prepared, they're telling you have to arm yourself and using all this type of violent terminology. And nobody really thinks they're prepared.
No.
So we all think we're vulnerable against this terrifying thing.
Yes. So I want to start with you and how you ended up becoming an IRS auditor in the first place. How did that happen?
Yes. Very
How does
strange.
that happen?
Well, I was actually living in Georgia, and I was working for the Air Force as a management analyst. And so I wasn't using my accounting background. I have an accounting background and majored in accounting. And so I'm like, I don't want to be doing this. I want to be doing something more accounting related. So I started applying for all sorts of jobs out of Georgia around the Midwest, and I ended up getting a job with the government working for the IRS. Ooh. And I went into it, I was super naive. I was like, I'm going to be working with all these business owners. I'm going to be talking to people all around Chicago, and they're going to welcome me, and it's going to be great. I'm going to learn a lot about accounting and taxes. And in actuality, no business owner wants to talk to an IRS agent. And you go to parties and people are like, oh, you work for the IRS? Alrighty. Well, it was nice talking to you. So, yeah.
Man.
Wow. But no, it's totally cool.
Here. It's like, you look very nice. Like, But I feel that, though. I'm not going to lie. Because you're on the show because you're a former IRS auditor.
Yeah, I hear that. It is pretty scary. But I was just doing my job. I can't say I was a nice auditor. I mean, I treated everyone with respect, of course, but just doing the job.
Well, and I think that's part of what's scary about it, because you do have to make difficult decisions, and you do have to make decisions that affect people's lives and businesses, despite how nice you're going to be or how well you're going to get along as humans, because that's really, it's just part of what it is.
Right. You're a regulator, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and some audits are actually pretty painful, especially because some people can't afford representation. And so,
what does that mean?
So many...
Go back to that. What does that
what
mean,
is that?
affording representation?
Well, so what that means basically is they've had their return prepared by someone that might have not been a CPA or something like that, and they can't afford to pay to have someone go into the audit with them or for them and talk about all the things that are under examination. So they're going to the IRS office, or they have an IRS agent coming to their office, looking through all their records and answering a bunch of tax questions when they really don't really know anything. So it can be a huge burden on low-income individuals or just people that aren't necessarily low income but can't really afford good representation. So
oh man, even just like you describing that, like my chest is like getting a little tight right now. I'm like, oh my god, affording. So that's something. It sounds like that really. This would be an interesting poor tax. We do a segment on that. Just the idea of like an IRS audit. Not being able to do it properly because you don't have the funds to hire a professional to really do it for you, essentially.
Well,
right?
and if you're in that position, you probably went to some sort of TurboTax or some other disreputable tax thing that messed you up even further.
Oh my goodness, 100%. That's usually what happens. Someone says they can get you a larger refund than someplace else, and then suddenly they put some stuff on your tax return that you don't actually know what it is or that it's even there. You don't even know necessarily to look for it. And then an IRS auditor shows up and is like, please tell me about your business and this loss on your tax return. And they're like, what business?
Oh,
so,
no.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a real problem. I mean, there's across the spectrum.
Oh, God.
Across the spectrum, there can be issues with the IRS. I mean, for low-income individual or wealthy people. So
wow,
it's across the board.
That's so crazy, because I know I've seen just in financial planning somebody who had their taxes prepared by someone who said they were an accountant, and they, in the place where it says who prepared your taxes, they filled it in as self-prepared so that the accountant wouldn't be liable.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's grimy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, lots of times those types of preparers, they won't sign the tax return. They'll be what's known as a ghost preparer. So they'll prepare a lot of tax returns, and they'll be very shady and incorrect. They'll get paid for them. And then when it comes to like finding who prepared those tax returns, tracking them down is very difficult. So
oh my God.
I think we found the sequel to Get Out. Ghost Preparers.
Ghost preparers. Whoa, that's so crazy. So that sounds like something that people should look out for in terms of like whether they can trust their accountant is, you know, how they're willing to sign.
Well, that's the
what they're
first
willing
step,
to get
right?
behind,
Is
right?
making sure that you and your accountant are on the same page, and that you understand that the accountant has to stand behind what they do, and that you have to stand behind all of it because it's yours.
absolutely. Definitely. It's, oh my goodness. There's so many stories where I've seen this happen. Like someone says they know something about taxes and that they can prepare tax returns, and they're even sending in their payments to the wrong governing body. So like sending sales tax payments to the federal government is just like, and they just don't know because you don't know.
Right. Someone tells you to do one thing and you don't know whether you assume it's right because you don't have any other context.
Well, do you remember I had a thing where I was given poor information and I was paying the wrong department for like a year.
Paying for the wrong year.
Yeah, and paying for the wrong so I was like, oh no, I'm good. I've got everything for this thing all prepaid, and they're like, no, you've been paying somewhere completely else.
So is getting audited like random? Like how do you decide who gets audited?
So what the IRS would say is that it is random, but it's computers picking tax returns. And so if there are red flags, they'll go through, and you know, I'm not an expert on how the computers work, but basically, they will look at for businesses, look at the industry that you're conducting business in and what's normal within that business or that industry as far as like deductions and revenue, and look for anything that looks large, unusual, or questionable. And then if something's sticking out, then that might be a reason for an audit. But they also do, beyond that, random audits. You know, they want to do research, find out more about an industry, learn more about the types of revenue and expenses that they would have. So it's not always necessarily because you did something wrong.
Okay.
I guess is what I would say.
Got you. Yeah. They're looking for abnormalities or discrepancies from the norm, it sounds like.
I like that also there's the exploratory stuff, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I mean, auditing a business, heck, when in the education world, whenever we want to figure out what we're doing, bring in auditors. They're not auditing our finances, they're auditing what we're doing. But in the same way, that's how you're going to learn about the business.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, and you don't have to feel always too scared. I don't want to tell anybody to feel scared, but if you're not prepared, if you don't have good bookkeeping, then that's when things can get a little hairy.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's something that I definitely want to go into after this song, is just how to prepare. What does it mean to be prepared? Why? I think people are really freaked out about the idea of it. And what I've seen people tend to do is just like not do anything.
Yeah.
Worst decision for sure.
Come on.
To avoid, act like you're not getting letters from the IRS, because the IRS will go on about their business.
Doesn't playing dead always work? Come on.
Wait, what do you mean the IRS will
Absolutely
go
not.
on about their business?
That was
what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
They'll just assume that your deductions aren't. So you have to substantiate all the deductions on your tax return.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't provided anything to support the deductions on your tax return, they could decide that you're not really allowed to deduct them.
Oh, so like
And
this is why you keep receipts.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can just go forward and make the adjustments that you need to make and close out the case, and then suddenly you have a tax bill that may or may not be something that you owe the government. So
it's in your best interest to actually answer those letters.
Absolutely.
Oof. Okay.
Isn't it always, though? We don't want to do what helps us. But it's all right. We have in the changing weather. It's cold one day. It's hot the next day. I'm transitioning into music we're playing. We've got a number of young ladies that we're going to be rocking today who are new adults themselves.
Whoop, whoop.
Many of them are students of us and homies of ours. And we're starting off with Dizzy Sense, who's been winning all the freestyle competitions all around. And her song, Summer Every Day. We'll catch you in a second. Front Your Budget, Bonfire Radio.
Been doing too much, why should I stop now? Want a feature for you, then what's that guap out? I'm only copping dubs and dubbing cop outs. X said I'm cold-hearted, I guess I'm hot now. What's the weather? Guess it's summer every day. Yeah, it feel like summer every day. It's only heat from us, the DJ wanna play, so I guess it's summer every day. I mean, I used to talk dreams with some friends that's ghosts now. Had to talk less, cause they doing the most now. Same one that's supposed to be your best man at the toast. Only trying to make you breakfast with the toast. I just want some donuts I could dunk in my another mocha frap without cream for a whip. Hide and seeking with my demons and shit. Sheesh, what it is. From a scene where you bleed from your lips. If you scuffle, put a crease on the kicks. I'm serial. These raps got my lungs hormonal. Thanking Mick for mankind in the waters in the jungle. Thanking Easter for my peeps where the time's not uncle. The time's but boom, now the sunroof crack. Tommy's cold enough to get you Martin right on Forest Hill. Drive-bys only an applause to kill. You either body to fit or fit the body for ransom. Hand-me-downs on with handguns and some armor hammers. Been doing too much, why should I stop now? Want a feature for you, then what's that guap bow? I'm only copping dubs and dubbing cop bows. Except I'm cold-hearted, I guess I'm hot now. What's the weather? Guess it's summer every day. It feel like summer every day. It's only heat from us, the DJ wanna play. I guess it's summer every day.
Back, Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was Dizzy Sense with Summer Every Day. And it's not summer every day, but we want to feel like it's going to be summer every day.
In Austin, it's summer every day.
That's true. Maybe.
That's the best. So we are here with Arielle Bryant, former IRS Auditor, now in Austin, and founder of Zenny Penny, mindful money management so you can focus on the things you love. So you just scared the shit out of us in the last segment, including... No, it's all good.
Including me, Lil Rock. Because the only thing I know really about like the IRS and like auditing was like Stranger Than Fiction. I don't know if you've seen that movie, Will Ferrell. But he gets like, he's an auditor. Yeah. And so when I heard about it, I was like, oh my God. But yeah, so basically I was just wondering like, what is like the process like, I guess, or what are the basics for someone like me, like a new adult? What should I know about like auditing and like preparing and all these things?
Okay, so yeah, as a young adult, what I would recommend doing for sure is referring to your W-2, your 1099s, all of that stuff, and making sure that you're reporting it on your tax return. That's one way that the audit might occur is if you're not reporting your all your 1099 and your income that's reported to the government. Save your bank statements, save all of your receipts if you have a business for record keeping purposes. And that way, if it ever comes up, you're prepared to handle and answer any questions that might come up. So, yeah.
Okay, so the receipts thing's definitely only if you have a business, but like, because when they ask me like, and I buy something like, do you want your receipt? I'm always just like, should I? I don't know. Should I be doing this?
Yeah, definitely for business owners. You got to save and substantiate everything that's put on your tax return. But as a younger person that's a W-2, an employee, I would just say refer to your W-2 when you get that in the mail, your 1099s, that sort of stuff. And make sure too that if you're not going to prepare your tax return yourself, that if you see something strange on your tax return, just ask your accountant about it and ask lots of questions.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. This is things I never get to do. It's like behind the scenes. What happens like when you're audited though? Like, what's that process like? I guess I'm not really sure.
Okay, well, there's different types of audits. There's a correspondence audit where they will just send you a letter in the mail saying, these are issues we're reviewing. Just please provide us with support for whatever it is the issue is. So if they like look at your tax return and they see that you took travel expense, they might say, send us your travel supporting documents to show this expense. The other type of audit would be an office audit where they'll send you a letter saying, let's get together in the IRS office.
Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio.
Bring all of your information, and we're going to go over your tax return and look over these specific issues. And then a field audit, which is what I was doing, is we will send a letter. Let's see if I can remember all the procedures, but basically you send a letter. Then and tell them to call you. You set up an appointment. You go to their office or their place of business. Sometimes that could even be your home. And you watch them conduct business, talk about the tax return, and you go over what we issue is something called an IDR, an information document request. So it's just everything that we will need in order to examine an issue on your tax return. So
they kind of like spend a day with you and like, I don't know, like what, like kind of just like on your shoulder, just watching your every move. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty intense. If it's a field audit, if it takes a day, then you are one lucky person, because it can take an extended period of time for sure. An office audit tends to be shorter. Correspondence audit, you might not even have to meet your auditor, but a field audit, that can take a long time.
What's a long time?
Well, it depends on how, well, this comes back to like just being organized. It just comes back to being organized. So having your books and records. I've had CPAs that represent their clients in an audit, and they're able to just give you a binder of everything that you request. And then it's just like, you have everything there. It's not like them trying to go through a garbage bag of receipts or something. Everything's there. So all the questions are answered quickly, and it can be done, I guess, like 2 months maybe. But audits can take a long time. But it's not very friendly or professional to have it go on for a long time. But it can.
Okay, can I ask an old adult question? I'm dumb old adult by putting my hand up. All you see is my hand. Well, because the whole thing you were saying about the garbage bag of receipts, is that a real and viable thing? Because I've heard from some folks that if you have it in that kind of disarray, that they're just going to ignore it. But are they obligated? Like if your thing is maybe not a literal garbage bag, but if it's a mess in that vein, are they just going to drop it, or do they have to deal with it?
It's not an auditor's job to get you organized. If you can't support, like, if they say, I'm looking at this exact issue on your tax return, and you can't present or support that deduction in an organized way, then it's your job to do that. So
they're not going to look through your garbage bag.
No. That's helpful though. That means like
that's good to
it's
know.
fine. No, go ahead and have your garbage bag of receipts, as long as when someone comes and says, I need June 13th, 1996, and you can pop open the bag and pull it right out. Because it's not on them. They're not going to... No, because that's what I want to know. If they're not going to dig through your stuff. You have to be able to provide things.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it depends on the auditor. Everybody has a different style. So maybe an auditor might be friendly enough to help you get organized, but I would say that in my experience that we were definitely taught to save time, because this is taxpayers' money too.
Right.
So like if we're out there going through your bag of receipts, that's not the most efficient or effective way to spend taxpayer money. So
Right, yeah, don't expect that's going to happen.
See,
but
like,
there's so many too. There's so many apps for like saving photos of receipts that it's just building that foundation, that solid foundation of tracking your finances is just a really great idea.
See, I remember you were talking about earlier that there's some shady accountants out there. As a new adult, I guess, like if I'm like looking for an accountant, or if I'm like trying to like get myself together, like what should I look out for in terms of like what are like the warning signs, like the red flags of like a shady accountant?
Okay, I think we covered some of them. One of them would be guaranteeing that you would get a higher refund than somewhere else. Another thing might be that they're preparing your tax return based on a percentage of your refund. So if they get like a percentage of your refund, they have incentives to increase your refund and possibly lie on your tax return to increase your refund. So that would be something to look out for. Their credentials, they don't necessarily need to be credentialed, but they should have a PTIN. There's something called an enrolled agent, who is someone who...
What's a PTIN?
What's a PTIN?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's a prepared tax identification number. So it allows them to file tax returns with the IRS. So it's a way of identifying who prepared your tax return, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, have you guys ever even heard of a PTIN?
No.
I thought that was the guy that the boyfriend from the Hunger Games.
Sorry, yeah. Interrupt me whenever I'm throwing out anything. any weird acronyms.
No, it's okay.
But
I think I'm a new adult, so I'm always just nodding my head like I understand. And then like 2 minutes later, I'll be like, wait, what was that?
oh man, no shame. I feel like that, like the topic of taxes, that's pretty much standard reaction. Whether you're a new adult, sometimes even a CPA, it's just like, ugh, because it's constantly changing. So no worries. And then the other thing, then a CPA, which I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. They're supposed to receive training because they're CPAs, so you can trust in theory that they're going to prepare an accurate tax return and they're up to date on tax code.
In theory.
In theory, right.
Let's see,
The
what
enrolled
else would there
agent,
be?
go back to that. Yeah.
Yes.
Pardon?
The enrolled agent, I'm just curious about what that is.
An enrolled agent is a tax preparer that's been trained by the IRS. So they also have continuing education credits, just like a CPA. But it's someone who prepares tax returns and is trained by the IRS.
And CPAs can also be enrolled agents, but having one doesn't mean you automatically have the other. Am I correct about that? Yeah, okay.
Correct, yeah. If you're a CPA, and honestly, I'm not sure if you're a CPA, I don't know why you'd be an enrolled agent, but there might be circumstances where that would happen. But regardless, the credentials are something that hold value.
So is an enrolled agent better or worse than a CPA? Are both capable of preparing your taxes? What should we watch out for?
Both are supposed to be capable of preparing your taxes.
Oh, no. Right.
Generally speaking. No.
The big
but really, they are both supposed to be capable of preparing your taxes.
Okay, cool.
But there are shady CPAs out there. They're shady,
Everybody out there. There's all kinds of shady people.
So I just wouldn't want to have like a blanket statement, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. So they don't need to necessarily be a CPA. An enrolled agent is, in general, just as good. They're both capable of preparing your taxes.
Well, and on the thing of you saying, there are a lot of shady folks out there. Again, like we're all unnaturally afraid of audits, I think we have a fear of people who deal with our money beyond what we would have. Like, hey, there's a lot of shady burger makers out there. But every time I go to In-N-Out, I'm not expecting a razor in my double-double. Don't do that, kids. Come on.
That's so terrible.
But you know what I mean? How should we actually feel about these folks? 'Cause, like, we shouldn't have this kind of fear of the people that we would work with or expectation that a lot of CPAs are going to be shady.
Oh, absolutely not. I would say that the majority are not shady at all. But so in order to know what to look out for, like you can't meet someone and say that you automatically know that they're shady. But the things that I listed, and then including not signing your tax return, I would add that one on there. That might be an indicator that there might be something wrong with your tax return. But what to look for is really, we should all be aware of what's going on with our business, our tax return. We should be keeping good records. We should be looking at our tax return because you're signing it and asking questions about what's on there. And if you're a business owner, for sure, knowing what's going on with your money, using bookkeeping software, being really mindful. So,
what bookkeeping software do you recommend, or like what should I do?
Oh yeah, really good question, because everybody, it's like when you talk to somebody about their route getting home, everybody swears they're an expert on whatever bookkeeping software they're happy with, and I never know which one is useful, if any of them.
Because
so the software that I use right now is QuickBooks and Wave, which is free accounting software. I've heard of Xero. I'm going to learn that soon, but Xero is also supposed to be very user-friendly and a lot easier to use. And QuickBooks is pretty amazing, but there is definitely a learning curve in figuring out how to work everything. And, there's FreshBooks. I don't know how I feel about FreshBooks completely. The last time I used it, it wasn't tracking all the expenses automatically. So while it can send invoices, I think it could get people into trouble as in not getting all their deductions if they're using that to prepare their tax return.
Yeah.
Yikes. So what are some common deductions that business owners can make that they tend to overlook or that they don't realize?
Oh, I would say anything that they use personally and for business as well. So like your cell phone or maybe some meals and entertainment. While this is a common audit issue, you still can deduct part of your meals and entertainment expense or your travel expense. So the way you look at it is your business use percentage. So if you use your cell phone for business purposes for 40% of the time or 60% of the time, then that means 60% or 40% of the time, or 60% or 40% of that bill is deductible on your tax return. So things like that, I think that would be the most overlooked. So like, for example, in New York, a lot of people are worried about their Metro card or even scared to even put it on their tax return. But if you're using that for tax purposes, then, or for business purposes, then you should deduct it on your tax return.
Oh.
This is amazing.
We both just had a light bulb moment.
Yeah, Metro cards, definitely.
So you can deduct your Metro card for business purposes. It doesn't count as like commuting or anything like that?
Well, it depends. So commuting means like from you going from your home to your office. But if you are out in the field, let's say you visit a client for business reasons, then that's deductible. But you also have to keep a travel log. So it's all about that foundation, that financial foundation. So keeping good records beyond just what's in your QuickBooks, but also like if you're doing travel, having a calendar saying, I met with this person this date at this address. It was this many miles. I'm deducting,
so you can just have because I keep a very meticulous calendar. So.
And as many details as possible are helpful, right?
Yeah, and there's
not
so
just
many
financial ones.
Yeah, there's so many resources out there on what you need to keep for travel reasons, what you need to keep for car and truck deduction. So I would say research it. If you look at your tax return and there's an explanation for every line of a tax return on what you can deduct out there. So if you're doing a Schedule C, which is a tax return for a single member LLC owner or a sole proprietor, just look at the tax return. If you look at the different lines on the tax return and look up what goes on this line. And then that's just also illuminating because then you're like, oh, I can deduct this?
So what you're saying is, look at the thing that is affecting your life and learn from it.
Absolutely, definitely.
Right?
When you put it that way, I want to go back really quickly to the meals and entertainment thing, because I feel like that is often misunderstood.
Yeah, one way or the other. We're either doing too much or we're not doing enough, right?
Exactly.
But some people are like, well, let's write off everything.
Yeah,
and other people
it's
are
like,
well, I don't know if that is good enough. And
how do you know what you can write off when it comes to do you have to eat with somebody? Can you be eating? Can you be buying lunch for work and write that off? Can you be on the way to a client meeting and pick up a coffee, and is that deductible?
Oh, so meals and entertainment. It's actually, I don't want to say it's complicated, but there's many different levels of deductibility of meals and entertainment. So some meals you can deduct at 50%, some are not deductible at all, like that example you gave of going to get coffee on the way to go visit a client.
Got you.
That's not deductible. But if you're supplying meals to your employees, that's 100% deductible. So again, this is there's different levels, and this is definitely all out there on the worldwide interweb.
You're suggesting that we buy lunch for Little Rock because then we can write it off.
See, please. I'm very hungry all the time.
So this works out for everybody then.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that counts, right?
I love it. Do you have any other questions, Little Rock?
No, not really. I mean, I did want to know what it was like a day in your life, the tough ones versus maybe the easier ones, or whichever one you're willing to share, I guess. I don't know.
Wow. So many stories.
I love hearing stories.
Well, the average day. Wait, do you want to know the average day, or do you want to know what kind of story?
Average day and
Average
crazy
day
days.
and like a juicy stuff. Yeah.
We don't know about the average juice.
The average juice. That's better.
Well, the average day is pretty boring. Really, you can go into the office, or at my office, I could also work from home. And, you have a caseload that you're managing, and you have to ideally close those cases pretty quickly. So whoever actually provided you with the documentation that you needed in order to determine whether their tax return was accurate, you work on that case. And you have to issue a report for every audit that you conduct, saying why or why not you made the adjustment that you made. So putting together reports. So that was pretty boring. Sometimes you're in the field and you're going to a business owner's place of business and meeting their CPA or something like that. And it can be, sometimes they want to make you comfortable and sometimes they don't want to make you comfortable. So it's just, it all depends.
Oh yeah, because I guess some people could be pretty emotional, huh?
Yeah. I definitely recall a lot of emotion, especially those people that I mentioned earlier that can't afford representation, and their tax return is so completely wrong because they had the wrong person preparing the tax return, and it doesn't work.
This is a little bit of a digression, but you know we've talked about this a couple of times in this interview about going to the wrong person. What is my recourse as a person? Say I know nothing about my taxes. I went to somebody, I trusted them. The auditor's looking at it. It's a mess. What can I do? Maybe I'm not even in the moment. Maybe I have to wait later and then reach out to someone. But is there anything I can do in that situation?
I believe there is, and I'm not an expert on what exactly you can do. I think you could go back and potentially sue someone if they did something totally wrong on your tax return. But as far as the IRS is concerned, you signed your tax return and you're responsible for what's reported on it. So,
right, we all signed that thing.
But then the IRS also does try to shut down bad preparers. It can be difficult, but they definitely will try to prevent any sort of shenanigans.
So worst come to worst, if I may be asked out when it comes to my own situation, if I had a bad preparer and I can't take care of it, but I can at least take it to heart that the IRS is going to be going after that cat too.
Oh, yeah. When I worked for the IRS, I did some return prepare projects. So where you go out and you see people that have been really causing a lot of people to get audited. So.
Oh, right. That makes sense because you can track who prepares it. And if that comes up a bunch, then maybe there's something going on.
Yeah, and that actually brings up another point related to just how someone can get audited. Another way that you can get audited is through related returns. So if someone's under examination and it turns out that they're deducting like payments to a contractor, but they didn't issue the 1099,
right.
Or they did issue the 1099, then it's typical for the IRS agent to branch out and just make sure that everybody that received a 1099 reported that income on their tax return.
Right.
And then if they did or they didn't, then also related businesses, but that gets a little bit more complicated. So
don't just do your taxes and have somebody good on your taxes, but make sure anyone you does business with has
also
someone.
does do your taxes, Lil Rock.
Okay. Wait.
I feel bad. I feel like this
No,
is
I'm learning.
dark and dreary, but it is.
It
is okay if you're prepared and you ask questions.
Well,
There's
if it-
only one thing though. Okay, so you said 1099. Can you just clarify what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the 1099 I was referring to is a 1099 miscellaneous, and that is what a business owner issues to, in most cases, a business owner issues to someone who does contract work for
We'll
them.
be sending you one, Little Rock.
Thank you.
if they make over $600. So let's say, I have a pizza shop and I paid someone to do my something contract related, like my logo or something like that, and I paid them $1,000. I would have to issue them, in most cases, depending on the type of business they are, a 1099. And so in order to do that, you ask someone to fill out a W-9. The business owner asks someone to fill out the W-9, and then they'll use that information to prepare the 1099, which is another common problem with business owners.
Yep, totally. And the other thing too that I remember learning the hard way is even if you even if you as the contractor don't file your 1099, the IRS got your 1099 regardless, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I learned that one.
Yeah, so it's a good idea to avoid audits, to report all of your income.
Yeah. Simple as that.
We're going to let all that sink in
Yes.
your heads for a minute. We're going to go to a song, and then we're going to talk to you a little bit more. That makes sense to you?
Yeah. Well, we let it all settle.
Well, want to thank Lil Rock for getting up on the mic
Boop,
here.
boop. Thanks.
And moving
Thank
with
you.
us. And I'm going to play this song called Welcome by Nasus, and we'll be back in a minute. Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio.
Welcome into my mind. Hey, I said it, if you don't get it, just box to the side. Yeah, I said welcome into my mind. And if you don't get it, just box to the side. It's the splendiferous, poetically carnivorous. Shorty with the mission, like I'll put you on that Christmas list. Presents in her penmanship. Part in paradise from parasites pointing pussies to pump their brains, pop off like Kansas Sprite. Alright, let me digress into my sacred zone. Turn off the phone, light up a speaker, and I'm blowing up the drums like a drum, a paper bag for the troubles. My visions are smooth shots, they gon' have you taking doubles. Understand? I ain't your typical, this ain't your average. I am not your mama. Don't look to me to beg me through the dimension. We all fighting to be more worthy than dimensions. For these twits, I take a hammer, knock out all this fucking trending. I'm a cyber girl with an earthly mission. My objective to help you people shine like scrubbing dishes. Shit could get grimy. We all been crossed by people lacking wisdom or retain the most and still don't know how to pay attention. Damn. Welcome into my mind. Hey, I said it, if you don't get it, just box to the side. Yeah, I said welcome into my mind. And if you don't get it, just box to the side. On wax or off, I plan to bring the fire back to life for girls that rap and make them clap. Not the gas, but crowds. In fact, their ears, their eyes will witness life. 9 months past. I know it's been a while, but I'm ready, like I never left. Feeling like I'm on top, nigga. Now watch me, chef. Cooking up recipes, keeping what's mastered. Degrees to this art. Now watch me shatter. Hold on to integrity, cause they'll flip you like words of a pastor or a quick come up. Now I know you're like, what the fuck? She was just shit talking, now she's trying to drop gems. Who she thinks she is? Andre 3 stacks in them? Well, I'm an outcast motherfucker, so our styles will blend. I'm a godly young nigga. Villains, trigger finger, churches, Sunday dinner. Secular like a stripper, trying to be a winner. Battling the odds, unapologetically black, a savage in silk drawers. Welcome into my mind. Hey, I said it, if you don't get it, just box to the side. Yeah, I said welcome into my mind. And if you don't get it, just box to the side.
And we are back, Brunch and Budget, Bonfire Radio. That was Welcome by Nasus, and today we are talking about what everyone is afraid of. It's not death, it's its sister, taxes. No, and death is like, no, death is something that can be comfortable. You can have that at home with people who
you don't have to
love
live
you.
through death.
Yo, you can die while having sex. There's like lots of like death is way less scary than taxes, is what I'm trying to say.
But we do
today,
have, yes.
But today we brought somebody here to help demystify some of that. The taxes part, not the death. We still don't know what happens. Sorry.
We don't know what happens. But Arielle Bryant, former IRS auditor, who has been keeping our nerves a little more calm.
Who has been to the beyond and can tell us what happens after death.
Well, the funny thing
taxes.
is, yes, taxes. The funny thing is, you were telling us during one of the breaks that you were audited as an auditor. Can you tell us about that?
I was audited, and that's actually I think it's pretty standard. If you're an IRS agent, they want to make sure that you're following the rules that you're enforcing.
Right,
so I think about 2 years into the job, I got that letter from the IRS, and I was like, what the heck is this? And I was like going through so much at the time too, so I was just like, ain't nobody got time for this crap. But I wasn't.
It's like, this is my job. Now I have to be the other person.
They only audit you when you ain't got time for it, right?
Yep, always.
Word. But yeah, so I mean, I wasn't necessarily scared because I had everything that I needed.
Right.
And that comes back to like your bookkeeping, keeping good records.
Mm-hmm.
But I put my stuff together, mailed it in, and it was one of those correspondence audits. So I escaped without any having to pay the government any additional money. So
that's dope.
Ooh, that's a success story.
Yeah.
All right.
It's possible. No changes are real, people. It's okay.
Well, one thing I would say about, to assuage your fears a little bit, one thing that you've done a great job so far on this show is explain to us that the IRS is more like any other law enforcement agency. It may seem like they're out to get you when they're pointed at you because they have a lot of capability because they need to, but their focus is on making sure that everybody gets a fair shake. And sometimes that messes with your day, and sometimes that's going to make your day better.
Right. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, one thing too that we didn't really even touch on is like, what usually happens? Like, what are the actual consequences? You do have people who did actual tax evasion, but what if you just like missed a couple things or shouldn't have taken deductions that you accidentally did?
I think I know where you're getting at, because I think the thing that we're all afraid of is we're all going to end up like Al Capone and Wesley Snipes and go to jail for 10 years and not know why, and then maybe still owe money because we probably also have to pay the money and have to go to jail. And now it sounds really scary.
Yeah, like we hear the worst case scenarios, but what actually happens if you like made a mistake?
Oh, yeah. So if you actually make a mistake, sometimes there's penalties and interest added onto whatever your additional tax liability is. And sometimes if you made a reasonable effort to pay the right taxes, then they might not apply penalties. But then they'll issue a report, and you'll work out an agreement for payment. And if you can pay right away, then that's great. Goodbye, IRS. But if you can't, then you can also sign up for an installment agreement and pay over time. So there are options. And then also, if you don't agree with what the tax auditor came up with, you can also go to mediation during the audit process and try to talk it out. You have the right to appeal and try to support whatever is going on. So there are a lot of options. And there's also nonprofits out there that help people that can't afford to represent themselves before the IRS. So there's support out there.
That's actually not that bad. So you just have to pay back what you shouldn't have deducted anyway.
Plus interest.
Yeah.
Plus interest, basically. Maybe. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. No one's going to jail.
I don't know anybody that's gone to jail for that. So it's just,
Whew.
You just
relief.
Move on with life, but having those records in order is essential.
Yeah, got you. Okay. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so now that you're not an IRS auditor anymore, take us. Yeah, woo!
So what do you audit people for now?
So after working at the IRS, I definitely knew that job wasn't totally a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
I moved on to try to help people, business owners, get their financial records in order, get their financial lives in order. So I work for a nonprofit called Start Small Think Big, and they provide pro bono legal and financial services to entrepreneurs in New York City, and I think soon in the Bay Area. And that was awesome because just like a little bit of information makes such a difference in people's lives. And now I've since left and started a company, Zenny Penny, and I just aim to help business owners have more mindful money management and, get their finances in order and be aware and empowered.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome. So tell us, like, what does Zenny Penny do now? I know it sounds new and it sounds like you just made a move to Austin, but what kinds of services are you offering to entrepreneurs right now?
At the moment, I am strictly doing bookkeeping, and because that's the foundation and
yeah, you've said that a couple
any
times.
business.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing bookkeeping now, but I'm hoping to evolve into financial coaching and financial planning once I get my CFP.
So, yay! Get the CFP. So, what is bookkeeping? I feel like people hear that they have to keep their books and they have
okay.
What is bookkeeping?
Yeah, and it's not exactly taxes, but it's related to it because
Yes.
it's all part of the thing. And then we also have to do, because planners like cash flows and budgets, and that's not the same thing but it's related.
Yeah,
so.
can I just look at my bank statements? Is that like keeping my books?
Oh, no, probably not.
Oh.
Because there's lots of times there's a lot of commingling going on, but hopefully
What's commingling? What does that mean?
commingling is where you mix your personal and your business.
Ew.
Finances?
Don't mix business and pleasure.
Yeah, so that can get pretty gnarly and really hard to sift through. But bookkeeping, to answer your question, is just tracking your inflows and your outflows in an organized manner, and I use QuickBooks and Wave to do so. So
Okay. Got you. And do you recommend, is it easy to do it on your own? Like, when is it time to get a bookkeeper versus when is it okay for you to keep your own books?
I think once things that's a tough question. I think that a lot of people initially when they're starting a business, they can't afford to pay someone to keep their books and records. So they do it themselves. But I think that I've seen a lot of messes out there. And so if you can, I suppose I would recommend, if you can get a bookkeeper, since you're busy doing your whatever it is that you're doing for your business, I would recommend getting a bookkeeper for sure.
So just as soon as possible, as soon as you feel you can afford it.
Yeah, because QuickBooks is a great tool, and there's a lot of great tools out there, but there's also, you're not an accountant, you're not in business to become an accountant. So it can be confusing about how to classify things.
Yeah.
So.
Well, even just that word that you just said, I feel like people are like, classify. What the hell does that mean?
How to put things, a category on something.
Yeah.
Like, does something come into meals and expenses? Transfers between accounts can cause someone to over-report their income, and nobody wants that.
So, which means you have to pay more taxes because you're double counting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Oof. Okay. So it sounds like bookkeeping is like a necessity as soon as you can do it. Just outsource it.
I really like the thing that you said about, not only are you not an accountant, you're not in the business of accounting. You didn't set out to be an accountant.
Yep.
You're going to, if I go and I have a business and I do my own accounting, I'm going to do a poorer job than an accountant would. And if I'm making no money and it's not a business yet and I'm still practicing, maybe fine. But once it becomes a real thing, I need to specialize in the things that I'm good at if the business is going to succeed, right?
Very true.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's worth the investment, just like it's worth the investment to get a financial planner or an accountant, because they can ultimately save you a lot of money and keep you out of, keep you on the right path or get you on the right path. So I think it's a solid investment.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Right,
awesome.
that's great. I think that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
I definitely feel less scared.
I do too.
Me too.
You have
I'm happy to hear
decreased the fear.
Yes, you have decreased the fear. We should have everyone listen to this far and wide. If you're afraid of your taxes, just listen to Arielle.
I mean, you could have a good South by Southwest one-woman show just doing that. And then,
Oh, my
Don't be
word.
afraid.
and then at the end, just, funnel them all into your new business.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh,
I love
it. South by Southwest taxes.
Ah.
I don't know.
People need
I don't know if
that.
anybody would come to my show, but
All the musicians who are trying to figure out if they can write this
all
off.
the performers, right.
I hear that.
I love it. So where can we find you, Arielle?
You can find me at zennypenny.com, and yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Little Rock, for all your questions.
Thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
Today has been a fun day. We've had a lot of folks partying
Yeah.
together in the studio. We're going to finish off with an MC named Happy Accident. She is also a new adult, known from the legendary Cyphers crew and all around. She's got a really dope song about how she grew up with seizures and it has allowed her to be more bold in her life. It's called Seize the Day,
Wow.
again by Happy Accident. And we'll catch you next week. Bunch of Budget, Bonfire Radio. Peace.
Love health as an issue, but not Western medicine. I think we're being poisoned.
I was 12 years old when I had my first seizure. I thought I knew a bit about pain, but it was still just a teaser. All I knew about the convulsions was I wanted them to stop. They stuck wires in my young skull, pulled out pills to pop. Same drugs they might use for the criminally insane, subliminally ripping through my malleable brain. Piling up papers about my medical issues, cause in an oppressive system they use chemicals to fix you, get a needle and stick you. Only vision of freedom you might see is a crack of light shining through a hospital window. They labeled my identity, generalized epilepsy, said pills were necessary. Waited years to say side effects of breaking down my bone density, or ability to bear a healthy child. The toxicity of what they fed to me, I will never reconcile. Somehow I still look back and smile, cause the shit I've been through does not define me, exists to remind me I am strong and mighty, blessed by Aphrodite. From the roots to the womb, from the cradle to the tomb, I produce a new truth. You're not the only one, and there is another way. Your sense of worth is not determined by what others say. I never stutter when I say, no, you're not the only one, and there is another way. You're not the only one, and there is another way. Your sense of worth is not determined by what others say. Never stutter when I say that you're not the only one, and there is another way. These were the words that woke me from deep sleep hypnosis. Of a dying diagnosis, prescribing higher doses had my soul comatosis. Till I woke up and stay woke to flow with osmosis as I compose this. You gotta walk through the fire to reach apotheosis. There's a reason for the pain and every season has a purpose. Though back then my reaction was, why do I deserve this? Symptoms at the surface have me nervous, choking my life's purpose. When flashing lights made me lose control and black out. Knew the moment before it happens, but there's just no way to back out. I was told I needed drugs until I made the choice just to back out of a life prescribed by those who lie. Say you'll have this till the day you die. No way to change it, so why even try? I denied the tired script to flip it so I can kick it with the natural remedies that set my epilepsy free. Now I see how life is so beautiful, releasing the dependency of toxic pharmaceuticals. To chill with the divine cup of ancient wisdom. Spill the truth of Western medicine, only trying to treat the symptoms. In a system where sickness and profit are subtly synonymous with factory farms, arm in arm with big pharma, diagnosis to alarm ya, prescribing pills to calm ya, but it harms ya, keeps you coming back for more, and that's the way they disarm ya. Or maybe this is armor. And really when I was young and stung, the docs was as dumb as me, trying to help and just be the best that they can be. I can't expect anyone to see beyond the visions they've been given, though I don't think that kind of living is living free. And I know this cause I spent many years in fear, drowning in tears and stuck in chains, enslaved to the chemical imbalances embedded in my brain, till I unlearned and retrained, no longer restrained by a story preordained. Trust the real shit that can heal this, it's up to you to reclaim. And sing, you're not the only one, there is another way. Though I used to have seizures, now I seize the day.
People who die of your medical error. There's over 100,000 who die from properly prescribed prescription drugs. I do love